thrilled so many people are here, so many friendly faces. Thank you, Candy, for creating the Dominion reading series and for continuing to bring in various poets, and also for the setup of the evening. It was challenging for me, and it was actually interesting work for the week to consider what my process is like. And I think I maybe didn't get the note it wasn't supposed to be writing related, so I just have other things that I'm interested in regarding. Okay. I think I'll just dive right in. It's pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, this is Après Patois. Falcon, bareback, mountain, loneliness, our first imprint. Hands in the willows, bells in the barn, you, the muted child, by the window, waiting for the train. Colors count themselves among chosen, calculate their depth and warmth. Leaves fall around you, umbra, whispers, negate, negate. Trees beaten blue by light, the clouds epileptic, your father's tarn a theodolite of distance. Small hands full of gravel, you wait by the side of the road for him to bring you a flower. Succulent cacti concuss, its winter fruit firm and bitter, garnet the endless page. At the end of each moment, you've nothing. Carefully sluice yourself, fingers in your browning folds, make heathenless, red meat, tobacco, marmalade, hortatory, your harem's word flooded, and you, in gumboots, in wedding dress, in the face of the bear, on your deathbed, you, the guttural shape of your name, curve of your mother's mouth, vowel of her, tongue irrigate, spilling, spilling. So that's kind of me reconciling motherhood and trying to comprehend my childhood. This is a poem I wrote for my little sister, and I actually read it to her this week, which I was really scared to do. And so she liked it, and she was crying, so I thought that was a good thing. My daughter picked like a small crocus for me, and everything that she gives me kind of wilts on the dashboard, so this is how this came about. Remember the fistfuls of wild foxglove we picked by the sea to sky, laid them a heaping plum altar beneath the windshield. A small white spider breached in her violet dashboard jungle. You didn't know where we were headed, a heli tour of Rainbow Glacier for your birthday. I was shocked, hanging above the pulsing effervescence of fractures, ice blue ebbing out in Caribbean waves. You smiled in that little sister way to be dazzled. Gray was still so little then. It was hard in that haze of new motherhood, you with complications, an infection from cesarean, the raw heat of your belly throbbing when you unwrapped the incision, pulsed against my hovering hand. Things were already complicated with us. It was my natural birth, my warrior stance on breastfeeding. How these things seem to slight you, as if my stake on motherhood was bothersome. I can never do anything quietly, I know, and I get it, and I miss you. Now your second son is 48 days old, and I have not met him. Evil witch, not invited to the party. You know I have to laugh. I've had time to grow into the crown of scapegoat, billy goat, troll. I wear my weirdness wildly now, more comfortable in your absence. Snow falls in February and feels young on my tongue, but I miss that great strangeness in you. Evaporated like mirages we chased on our bikes, married out, tired out, your need for normal, a vacuum between us. You called when I was about to give birth, said you were in the neighborhood, could you stop by? The big sister in me hesitated. Can she handle this? You came through the door as her head was crowning, sun streaming through the window as it does for little sisters, sometimes softly, sometimes blinding. That day on Rainbow Glacier, the world felt like a bad joke, our cities muddy, and I was shaken by our grotesque power, our tiny beauty. I like mountains with you, enough space for the both of us. When we got home, we made draping bouquets, tall foxgloves, their spines sloped flowered vertebrae. Something in the bell's flourish made me look them up. You threw yours to find their poisons to children. You threw yours away. I planted seeds along the periphery of my yard. For days, the white spider roamed the yellow formica table, its ivory utensil limbs reaching, continuously tapping for tulip, sunflower, dahlia. I was contented, though, accepting the hard plastic petal. I was surprised by her translucent albino shell, tender coloring, a bit like yours. So yeah, I've been noticing, looking over my work, there's a lot of highways and roads and travel. There's a lot of the Fraser River Valley, which is my dear friend Cindy, is one of my oldest family friends, and we all grew up there, I think. And so I know that the word gypsy has now been kind of blacklisted. Many European travelers feel there's been a derogatory term, and a pretty horrible label for them. That wasn't really my experience growing up. My parents used it kind of as an honor of freedom. There was something really liberated and earthy and mystical in that, so that's my intention in this piece. Caravan. Dad called me his Gypsy Jane, Alberta Jane, his mother, an orphan, had enough stories to fill a caravan that stretched all the way to me. How he loved to spin tales, to bind me to his gypsy heart. His mother on train tracks, a baby in her arms. Later, a single mother of 4, a Beretta in her glove box. Dad called me his Weeby Doobers, a small joint, presumably. Songs he played on the record player and long road trips, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Peter Tosh, ska and reggae summers unraveling on Saskatchewan roads between his stories of sailor friends, men with Black Panther tattoos, bound me to his rebel heart. In a park in Moose Jaw, Dad took me to the base of a large black statue of Winston Churchill. Who is this, he asked. Jimmy Cliff, I replied, my repertoire of black people limited to his record covers. Dad called me Zoe, like a command, like a pal. He bounced me along the back 40 on his old Triumph motorcycle, till one day Mom saw me topple off the back. Dad sold the bike after that. Come winter, they'd hitch the sleigh to my Malamute Zeke, a dog that ran with a wild pack of coyotes, wolves, and res dogs. Bundled in wool and a foxline parka, they'd let him take me for a run along a tree line. I see now they were building the Gypsy Inn. And I think my last piece that just felt like a part of my life that I remember spending a lot of time in cars is Zingara, which is just like a female gypsy. The road to New Mexico is hot, like only a highway can be. It breathes in mirages, the Mermaid soundtrack on repeat. I can't help but cast my mom as the well-sexed, uninhibited Cher character, me, the dark and misunderstood Winona Ryder. The drive from Naramata to Taos, 1,600 miles to contemplate my clear jelly sandals. Desert hills like giant chocolate chip cookies, baked clay dough speckled with black rock, miles of low shrub, yellow lines, roadkill, and birds circling. Then the highway alive, swarms of black and silver hornets surround us like buffalo thunder. Mom drives stiffly, her turquoise-ringed hands hard on the wheel, tells me not to look over. I am aware we might be trampled or stung. The back of my thighs burned, salty and hot, stuck to the perforated yellow seats, my dress shirt tucked into acid wash shorts. Our cream Benz puts along. We pull into town needing gas. Mom locks me in the car, walks briskly through the dusty station doors, flanked with bikers, their shape-worn leather vests, which once fit the lean, taut torsos their women fell for. Beyond the pumps, the whole town sparkles under desert sun, reflected on polished chrome and black leather. When Mom emerges, the bikers have already paid for our fuel. They smile and wave as we pull away. In the cool stone belly of the pueblo, alone from Mom's writer friend, from writing the bones or something 90s like that, I stay in most days eating Klondike ice cream bars and watching Scooby-Doo. Mom comes home elated, mind blown in her writerly way, her teacher having written about a cactus perched on a teacup. Big whoop, I think, but I never dare say it. Instead, ice cream and a 2-channel TV are my El Guado companions. I'm ready to blow this pop down, as Dad would say, my sights set on the road home, spotted with cheap motels, blue painted gashes of pools, my chlorine-soaked hair drying in open windows. Fueled on fries and gravy, chocolate milkshakes in waxy pastel cups, muttering through dusty backwater America. I see how transient it all is. A father and a son at a gas station, the fluid whip of freeway beside a collapsing city, miles of strip malls, orange and cream, churning smells of hamburgers, diesel and salty grease, smatterings of car dealerships, salesmen camouflaged between Civics and LeBarons, roads punctuated with wind dancers, their spastic happiness alarming, ribbon fingers reaching. Thanks. On to process. Write something. I think my process is, well, it varies, and it's largely informed by content. So I've been really interested in, well, some paintings, but I'll get to that later. If someone reads, particularly if I hear someone read their own work or a song or something's created in a space, I kind of get like trigger inspiration where it kind of floods me. And so often, even like coming home from a reading, I'll say like, oh, I'm a 10, and it's like 12, and I'm like, oh my God, I pulled over by the side of the road. I've written 3 pieces. So that kind of inspiration is very fruitful for me. Anything trauma-informed, which is what I try to write, or am trying to write, at least some of the time, is very slow-going. And I find that I am circling, anything I guess the psyche perceives as dangerous, right, takes a really long time to get into. And I often realize that I've written something and I don't even know what it is, and it's not until I'm kind of slash and burning and paring it down that I recognize, oh, like that's my dad, this is this incident. So that takes a fair amount of, I don't know, commitment, I guess, to the work. And I find it challenging. And it feels worth it. It feels really important to do that work. So, and then I've been really gifted this experience of motherhood, which it's almost just like this slow motion, sacred thing comes before me, and I get to just write it down. So that's pretty incredible too, and worth crying about. And I think there's another part of me that really is like super experimental and loves to play. And I don't know like what it's trying to do. It doesn't usually land, like a lot of the pieces just don't seem to really go anywhere, but there's something that I have to do to keep writing. So there's some kind of compost for the garden there. And then of interest to me now is another writing project, but I guess it's kind of unrelated. Candy and I read at the JCC a little while ago, and we were writing at Crastics. And there was a lady, Penny Eisenberg, who is a visual artist and also is an incredible painter. And so I looked at her work. I was very compelled. She had 3 series up. One was quite urban, dealing with light and water in the city. Another was boohoo bouquets for various artists, Frida Kahlo. They were amazing. Huge oil painting coming off the canvas in these elegy bouquets. They were beautiful. And she had another series called Other Artist Women, which were quite impressionist, but really captured something like in a limb or in an era, or the way we allow ourselves to be seen, or the way we see one another. It was pretty evocative for me. And so I went home and I wanted to do a collaboration with her, and I thought, oh, I don't know if she really would be interested. And so I stalled for a couple months. And then I was reading Barbara Ehrenreich's Natural Causes, which is so interesting. And I thought of these little miniatures that I had, these tiny women in chairs. There's like a set of 7 of them in these compartments in a box. And they're all seated, and then these minute little chairs. And I thought, I just had a sense, I think Penny had written about small things, which I really liked. And so I thought that might interest her. She said, this is a painting in Intimate. And this is Penny Eisenberg, 2018. I paint small paintings because they are often more intimate, more critical, and less decorative, inviting a closer look, which reveals the subtlest gesture. The surface and the hand that make them are as closely married as their meaning, as the image itself. For me, small paintings invite an intense engagement with my materials and an opportunity for access of both paint and subject matter. Small paintings are capable of shouting across a room or whispering in your ear. And so I thought, okay, she might actually be interested in these miniatures. I emailed her, she wrote me back the next day, she just said, this is amazing timing, and I really am interested in miniatures. So I said, okay, great. I ended up going to her studio for like hours, like 4 hours. We talked straight until I was like, I have to go pick up my daughter. Just about art and life and my writing and her experience growing up. And we had this wonderful connection. And we decided to work together on this. And to see what happens with it. And she's such an incredible artist that's been doing this for so long. And she's very interested in interiors, like in light and shadow in a room, in like this very painterly way, and totally blew my mind with some of the art she was able to show me. So I feel that it's probably a steep learning curve for me with my first year art history, but I'm really enjoying it, and I'm glad that I reached out. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Zoe about writing and?
So the collaboration, you're going to do a writing portion to, or can you say more?
Yeah, so she's going to do some paintings of the women in chairs in interiors, and then I will be writing to the pieces.
Are you going to be writing to her paintings or to the actual miniatures or both?
I'll be writing to her paintings. I might try writing to some of her photography as well, because they're so small, she's going to have to photograph them. And then I also have some previous pictures. Like when I first bought the miniatures, I just got them like as a toy for myself, and I put them on the mantle in a series of poses, like on shells and rocks, and they were kind of my little like hidden secrets. They weren't very noticeable. And so I took pictures of them a long time ago, and I thought I could probably even write to those as well to kind of see if there's a series there. Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to cut anybody else. Well, it strikes me that because I know some of your work, and you do have so many wonderful references to color and to painting, obviously, this very visual kind of approach and thinking. And I'm just really interested in where that came from and whether or not it comes out of any kind of formal training, or is it just something you've just always done? And is that always a kind of a rudder in your work? Is that a central figure? I'm just fishing around here for words to address this.
Sort of like the painterly aspect of things?
Art, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's just naturally been how I tell stories, is like to place images and color, and that seems very like easy and natural for me to do that. And I think it conveys some kind of emotional essence, like in the way that it comes about, but I have no real intention of doing that.
Well, that's why I bring it up, is because when you were referencing that in the beginning, and you were talking about the things that attract you and stimulate your work. It seems it's what part of what makes it very, very rich, you know. And there are connections between certain kinds of images that you have, and also your love of, your specific love of language for color is a striking thing too. It's something that just seems to notice everywhere. And then that brings it to our attention in a visceral way. So it's particular to you, I find. Not that other artists aren't interested in that. I just find it's really particular to you.
I think I'm working with like partial memory a lot of the time, and that's what I have access to. A lot of the time is color, and so that might be a part of it.
Thank you very much.